Luna has exploded to new highs, but should we anticipate further upside movement, or is it going to run out of power and steam and start its correction? Well, that's what we're going to look at in today's video based on Fibonacci and Elliott waves, the buying and selling behavior of mass herd human psychology. If you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jagir. I'm the award-winning author of The Extraordinary New Venture Capital Opportunity, How to Invest Like a Pro. Been featured in the best-selling book, High Probability Trading Strategies, back in 2008. We're only used to focus on currencies, but now exclusive on crypto. So let's dive straight in. So with Luna, the first thing that I really want to get across is markets tend to move in fives and threes. 5 waves to the end post on the upside, and then a correction. And what we did not that long ago was we saw that Luna did this amazing move from last year, January to March, went for a big ABC correction, did this nice move to the upside, big ABC correction, and now it's doing another move to the upside. So what we're going to focus on is this part over here, and just going to tweak what we did in the last video. And this is the beauty of Elliott wave and Fibonacci, because we're looking for clues that's going to give us the edge, the high probability edge of what's likely to occur, because we can only do probabilities and never certainties. So before we even get into the pattern and readjust, what I want to show you is I have a weekly chart on the top left-hand corner. I'm just going to make it full screen. And what I'm paying attention to is the momentum that's linked in with the price. And that's really saying that the market's moving these rhythms. And there's some momentum indicators that tell us, is it likely to be moving further up, or should we be anticipating sideways to down? And when you see the momentum like this, where the blue line is all the way up here and the red line is all the way up here, we should anticipate sideways to down movement, especially if momentum coincides with pattern. So the momentum is saying, look, guys, it's probably going to run out of steam at some point very, very soon, so just be mindful that the upside should be limited and we should be looking for downside movements. And then we combine that with pattern. So again, I'm going back into a daily chart. So we saw this pattern of a 5-wave sequence, but what we're going to do is get quite intricate with this particular, and we're going to talk about these lines in a second. What we said in the last video was, because this looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a potential 5, that this potentially could be an end of this whole big sequence and a big correction. But the line that we drew was, what will invalidate that is if the price goes above the previous high, which it has. So now we just need to reevaluate and go, okay, everything still holds true. Because what we said was, and by the way, all these lines that you're seeing are key Fibonacci ratios where we're measuring one wave and projecting it forward, because there's always these relationships. For instance, one of the lines that we drew was this red line over here. And what this was is when you measure wave 1 to 3 and then project it forward from this wave 4 low, and it projects it forward, literally projects it forward to say this is a likely maximum area of a typical wave 5. And by the way, if you want to learn more about Elliott waves, Fibonacci, how to read the markets and see these 5s and the 3s and the 3 key rules for Elliott wave, take my free Elliott wave Fibonacci masterclass. It's in the link below. You'll be taken to this page. You literally just click and it gives you instant access, video on demand, Elliott wave. I'll cover some really, really cool stuff in there. And it will just give you more of an insight in how these markets tend to behave, because most people don't actually realize that the markets are driven more by fear and greed, speculation, and fear of missing out, and there's panic buying occurring, and then there's profit taking based on different psychology, and the psychology is reflected in the price. And that's what we're looking at here today. So what I want to finish on today is really reevaluating this last part. So clearly this cannot be the end of the wave 5 sequence, mainly because we've exceeded the high. So everything still holds. So what it looks like is it's unfolding some type of 1, 2, a further 3, 4, 5. So what we should still anticipate, not get overly excited that new highs are being made, is something along the lines of this. That we should anticipate that the price will move into this range, and is likely, not guaranteed, that we'll see a wave 5 of a 5 of a 1. You might be thinking, what, you get? What? I'm new to Elliott waves. What do you mean wave 5 of a 5 of a 1? It's a great question. So what we're going to do is just going to zoom back out. Because what we're looking at is the macro picture, the full psychology of what's occurred since pretty much January 2021. January 2021. Because often people just focus on the last part of the move, but the context is really the whole pattern so far. So here, this whole movement is what we're referring to as a one, as in it's a big five-wave sequence to the upside. This movement here where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's what we're referring to as the second five. And then this one over here, we got 3 degrees of counts. And this is relevant. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a potential 5. So 5 over 5 over 1. Because what Ralph Nelson Elliott figured out back in the 1800s, 1900s, that these wave structures, if you zoom in, they replicate themselves. And if you zoom in more, they replicate themselves. And if you zoom in even more, the Fibonacci ratios and the wave structure replicates itself. So this whole wave structure is built up of tiny wave structures and tiny wave structures. So we've got a wave count of a 5 over 5 of a potential wave 1. And when that's significant, because after a 5-wave sequence, just like this, like if we zoom back in to January of 2021, and this is what I mean, that is expanding and contracting all of the time. We had this very nice movement to the upside. In hindsight, it looks like a very clean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a big A, B, C correction. Now that's what we're anticipating is going to happen again, but on a more larger degree. Larger degree meaning now we look into the 5-wave sequence is on a macro degree now. It's literally now a 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like it's coming towards the end of a wave 5. After that, the way we saw this A, B, C correction down here, and this A, B, C correction down here, because this was also another 5-wave sequence to the upside. But now on a macro degree, what will tend to occur more often than not, again, we can only do probabilities and never certainties, but it's to know that the upside potential in Luna, as great as the infrastructure and the project is, from a speculation standpoint, keeping in mind that people that bought down here are in significant profits. People that bought down here are also in significant profits, and people that bought down here are in significant profits. So there's going to be massive profit taking more than likely soon. And how we can kind of narrow it down a bit more is we use the momentum indicator over here. So over here, I'm just going to zoom it up like this. The momentum is still bullish on the daily chart. And on the next bearish reversal, which might be 3 or 4 days, if it coincides with this price range and even a clearer pattern, if this unfolds into a 5-wave structure, is more than likely we're going to see the top of Terra Luna. And then, during advance, the typical ratios where the correction will occur. And we did this in the last video on Luna. If it does hit this zone, we're expecting a big correction. It normally will occur in 3 waves. Like it won't just be one move down more often than not. It'll look more like this. And then guess what? Then it would normally be a continuation of that whole trend. And that's just cycle and trends. It's typical Elliott and Fibonacci buying and selling behavior. And if you want to learn this, I'm telling you, my students are doing quite well. Fibonacci, Elliott waves, just learn how these markets unfold time and time again. We've seen it with quite a few different projects that are unfolding very, very nicely. You get instant access. And let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. What are you more tuned into? Is it more Elliott waves or is it more the Fibonacci ratios? What do you prefer? So if you like today's content, I would really appreciate it if you give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I want to bring daily value to you so we can read the markets and aim to be 2 steps ahead of the market, because most people are 2 steps behind and are reacting, and then it's difficult. If we can see what's likely to occur next, we can plan, we can prepare, and take the most appropriate action based on probabilities. All right, let's finish on a quote from my book. It is chapter 5. The chapter is called It's Simple, and it's a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. It's one of my favorites. It says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." Now, when it comes to trading and reading charts and technical analysis, there are tons of different methodologies. But I found the most simplest, most powerful, especially when it comes to crypto and blockchain, is Elliott wave patterns when you can see 2 or 3 degrees of counts like we did today, combined with Fibonacci ratios, key ratios, when wave 1 and wave 3 have a certain relationship, wave 5 and wave 4 have a certain relationship. And if you know those key ratios, you can project in advance where it's likely to go from a psychological mood perspective, where people are likely to buy and sell. So the buying and selling behaviors. Combine Elliott wave pattern with Fibonacci price, and then add in the icing on the cake is momentum, and ideally on 2 degrees. And what we saw with Luna today is the weekly momentum is overbought, meaning that the upside should be limited, and the daily is bullish, but on the next bearish reversal, it will coincide with the weekly. So then we're going to have pattern, price, and momentum saying, look, it's likely in terms of probability that the upside potential in Luna is limited. I don't normally cover volume, but you also see that the volume has been decreasing as the price has been going up as well. And that's another clue that the upside should be limited. So take the masterclass, enjoy it. Hopefully I'll see you in one of my live workshops. If you end up buying one of my courses, we've got a phenomenal community on Telegram, and we do a lot of stuff. And I'm looking to add more and more value to you as the year goes on, because 2022 is a special year, but we are very, very early in this whole blockchain and crypto ecosystem because of the technology and what it's going to do for the world. And it's going to revolutionize the world more than the internet itself. All right, I'll see you very soon.